Welcome, friends, it is I, your Scarf, and it's time for the new vlog. In the background is Dreadbeard Poseidon. I keep wanting to say Dread Pirate. I think it's Dreadbeard. Yeah, it's Dreadbeard. I'm gonna say it's Dreadbeard. I could be wrong, but I'm gonna say I'm right, because of course I am. No. Okay, so, we got a few topics to talk about and making sure I need to remember to say them, so I have a list here. And that is, we're gonna talk about the PTS, Smite Chest, Nintendo's YouTube policy, a group we might not know about, VideoGamer.com's Patreon, and then we're going to talk about Higo Stigs. I think we'll talk about Higo after the Smite stuff, because he is Smite related, and then thank yous, of course, and maybe a little bit more, we'll see. But, let's talk about the PTS. So in general, I talked about this on other vlogs, but in general what's going to happen is, well, the big new one is, Season 2 League, you can 2-player queue. I don't know how well that's going to go. They're going to try to make adjustments to MMR to be able to take into account those two people. I don't know how it's going to work, but hopefully it works out well. And yeah, so we're going to see duos in League, and who knows how well that's going to go. I want to be optimistic. Maybe it'll bring in really good play. Pessimism is it's just going to be two people who just only talk to themselves and don't do much for the team. This happens in casual a lot, where you get a duo that only talks to themselves. They never call MIAs, they only talk to themselves, and you just end up with just having a team of 3 and a team of 2, and it's really not so good. I've had wins and losses because of that, and the losses can be really, really angering when they just don't want to do things with the team, and it's just odd because it's a team game, so we'll see how that goes in the future. Then, of course, Season 2 is going to have the gameplay changes, like the jungle camps. You can leash them now, sort of like, when you get out of range, they don't instantly heal. They now heal 10% of their HP per second, so it's possible to re-engage it and take care of it. And the biggest part of all that is going to be Fire Giant and Gold Fury. So if you make a team back off, well, that Gold Fury or Fire Giant is going to be low on HP, which means the team that backed off might have to come back in there to try to do something about that or something like that, because that's going to be some risky business there. So we should see, I don't know, we're going to see more aggression or more timidness when it comes to Fire Giant and Gold Fury. Like, will you only do Gold Fury if the enemy Hog 3s are dead? Or will you still try to risk it and hope that they don't back you off? Same thing goes for Fire Giant. I think I'd rather just go for safety and only do it when they're not around. But sometimes the bold move is the one that wins it, but sometimes the bold move is the one that loses it. So, we'll see about that. Of course, there's the purple buff, which took the orange buff's attack speed. So orange buff is now only speed, while movement speed, while purple buff is attack speed, and that's going over. And they've also added in-hand power to it. Okay, so they add in-hand power to it, that's cool. But the orange buff is still the same, just having movement speed. And it replaced the blue buff, right? So the question is, how's that going to go? Well, they made the, the Mana Stone, the Blue Stone, I think it's called the Blue Stone. The Blue Stone, which will allow hunters to still be kind of cleary, kind of have like a blue buff on them anyway. So blue buff got replaced with kind of an item going on instead. So we'll see how that affects things. Will people go for that or Death Toll? What will they do? It's going to be interesting to see that. And then you got the jungle camps. So the mid camps don't spawn at the start. They spawn at 3 minutes, which hurts my Bastet open. It hurts it a lot because I love stealing that. I have never, ever... This isn't hyperbole or general, whatever the wrong word is. I never ever missed a single steal. Every single time I got it. Sometimes I stole it right before they did their hug to try to get it away from me. But I stole every single time. Didn't fail once. And I'm proud of that. Because they never see it coming. The Bastet steal's so great. You can still try to maybe steal like orange or something from any, but that's a lot harder to pull off. I don't know if I'd want to take the risk, but I might try to time it. At least a few times I'll consider it. Then, of course, the Titan can be attacked out of range, and then Fire Giant gets new attacks. I think some of the attacks can be telegraphed, too, so you can try to dodge them, which is going to be an interesting idea. And then tagging. Tagging worries me a lot. And they were talking to the pros about this. They were asking questions. One was, because of the changes to hunters, a lot more hunters can be viable, and in one pro's opinion, I think it was Allied's opinion, was that Ullr's now top pick. That was their opinion. Jeff Hindler's opinion, who is, considered one of the best support players ever, he says he feels like support is going to have a lot harder time. This because tag times are getting shortened from 10 seconds to 5 seconds, and also you have to be within range for assist 80 feet instead of 60 feet instead of 80 feet. So tagging gets hurt, which means supports can't roam as much, which means supports are going to take some XP and gold away from their hunters a bit. And you just cannot be as effective in a roam, and so that is a bit worrying. And what was interesting to see, Jeff Hindler's opinion is that, it was either Jeff Hindler's opinion or someone else, I can't remember it right now, but there were two people talking about support. One was saying they feel like the builds are going to be very stagnant, while the other one felt like there's more variety to it. But the feeling is you're going to have to build the new Watcher and then Boots, and then you have to get the 2 Sovereignty items. You're going to have to get them 2. So your first 4 are kind of there. Well, another one's opinion is that, well, you have all this variety. You have all these different things you can build. And the truth is you do, but if some people are going to try to stick to the old meta, and some people are going to try to stick to the new meta. I mean, try to make a new meta. And the old meta is kind of the old stuff and getting the 2 Sovereignty, so you kind of have Sovereignty still, because that's still very useful for a team, while other people just try to do a lot more different counter building. But who knows what's the right way to go about it. But supports do feel like they're going to be hurt the most from the changes, just because they can't tag as well. If they roam, they're going to get punished a lot for it. And yeah, the boots are gone. This is something else Jeff Hinley said was, with the lack of the gold boots, like, you just have less money coming down on supports, so they're going to be less effective, and they're going to be really squishy at times, because they're not going to have enough, they're not going to be built up as much as everyone else. Like, there are these points when a support is squishy to the enemy team, because they're built up to a point, and the support's not built up to them yet to deal with that damage, because, well, they've been running around or doing whatever, and don't have enough gold and XP to level up or build up to a position where they can't be killed. So there's this constant ebb and flow for a support. With the way the things are going now, the support might be in a position where they're just a lot squishier, and it's going to take them longer to become more effective. And so that's something to think about, and we'll see how it goes going forward with that. Then, of course, there is the items. You got like the new actives, like Achilles Spear, which is a curious idea. Then there's the starter on Bluestone Pendant. That's the one that's kind of like a blue buff. It's only for hunters, like 15 physical power, plus 90 health, plus 5 MP5, and it restores 4% of your missing mana every 5 seconds. So you can go ahead and just dump all your mana at the start, and then you'll slowly get it all back. And so it gives you a way to try to clear a little bit and be aggressive there. Then the 2 sovereignties are Sovereignty and Heartward Amulet. Heartward Amulet gives you a lot of magical protection and gives an aura of 20 physical protection, but also gives MP5. While the new Sovereignty, what that one does is it gives an aura of 20 magical protection and 25 HP 5, and it gives like 55 physical protection. So yeah, both are pretty useful. That's why you might get them both. Well, you probably will as a support, because then you're giving your team 20 physical protection and 20 magical protection. You're also giving them MP5 and HP 5 auras, so that's pretty nice there. So you get why supports are probably going to be building those standard. And we're just going to see a lot of that. And then there's just a bunch of other items, and I think most of them are the same since last time I talked about them. I don't think anything's really changed about them, but there are some minor changes here and there, and we'll probably talk about them more deeply in the actual, in the actual patch notes, which might be 2 videos. Like, there's so many item changes, the item changes alone should probably be their own video. And then the god changes, yeah, they alone should be their own video, because there's a lot. Just basically going over all the hunters. A bunch of hunters got an increase to attack speed per level and just at base. But then you got like the nerf like Alquang, which Alquang got nerfed correctly this time. So they reverted the nerf, which wasn't a real nerf, which was the magic contribution, and they lowered his flat damage on his dragons. That is the real thing that made him effective. So it's a good chunk taken away. He'll still be effective, but we'll see if he's too effective with that. I still think executions might need to be lowered a little bit on their threshold, but it's mostly stuff like that. And then of course, the Hunter clears nerfs set for, let's see, Uller, Neith, and Amazon Cow, which makes them stronger because their clears were not nerfed. Actually, Neith's was buffed, and Cuba got some buff going on. It's going to be interesting to see how these changes affect things, and we know I haven't played the PTS to test them out because I just want to see the finished product, because I need to use my time elsewhere as well. Time is the most precious commodity, and you don't have all day to do everything you want to do. So definitely have not been able to play the PTS. And besides, they keep making changes anyway. And I'd rather see the finished product so we can work off of that. And that's just me just using my time as best I can. That's what's going on there. But that's enough about the PTS. A lot of changes going on and a lot of thoughts on that. And we'll have maybe 2 videos focusing on the patch notes, because we have to. There's just a lot going on. That's when Season 2 actually starts, which the belief is next week. I think it's supposed to be next week, but we'll see if it is or not. Also next week is Evolve, and you know damn well I'm going to be playing the balls out of that game, so it's going to be a very, very busy week next week, and the midterms are coming up, so I had to figure out how the hell I'm going to fit everything into my life, because holy crap, I'm going to try. Holy crap, am I going to try. Now, sticking to Smite, let's talk about the chess. Okay, so The last couple skins, let's see here. So, let's go. Winter Solstice Hell and Dread Pirate Poseidon you can buy with gems, while chest exclusives was Fuwa Cupid and Carnival Neath. So that's 2 and 2. The new chest is going to be Mercury, his skin, and Artemis's new skins are both going to be chest exclusive, while Portal Janus is going to be you can buy with gems. So out of the last 7 skins, we got 4 exclusive to chest and 3 not. And it's getting a little bit ridiculous. It's getting really ridiculous with all the exclusives to specifically the chest that you cannot buy otherwise with gems. And that is, it's, holy crap, it is way too much gambling here to get skins. And it is something that I just cannot condone anymore, personally. Like, I don't think it's the right thing to do, trying to make us gamble for skins. I feel like being able to buy them with a gem alternative would be nice, instead of just, you can only get them through chest gambling, which can screw you over by a lot of money. So, personally, we're not going to spend gems on chests anymore. The only reason why we will spend money on chests is if a viewer specifically gives us gems for that. If they go, you know, we want you, we're going to give you gems because we really like this skin, we want to see you with this skin, give it a try. Good luck and hope you get it. Like something like that. That has happened in the past. We've been given gems for that in the past. So if someone specifically wants us to try to win a skin with that, then we'll try. But any gems that you just give me just as a donation so we can buy things like voice packs or skins, it's going to go towards non-chest stuff. Because I don't want to support it personally. But if my viewers want to support it, they can. I will not judge you for that. I should never really judge you guys for things like that. But that's everyone's opinion on what they want to do with the chest. Personally, I don't like it, but if you like the chest, I'm not going to judge you for it. Simple as that. What else Smite related? Oh, the highlights. Okay, so every week now, Jinx is making highlights of what we make on the channel, and this week's going to be Smite and Jazzpunk because we have a Jazzpunk LP now. So it should be really entertaining. I laughed my ass off watching this thing. There's a lot of really good highlights from Smite and a lot of really good highlights from Jazzpunk. And feature LPs will be on those highlights. They have a good mix of just a bunch of things going on, and they're very entertaining. It shows me very well. It shows the games that we play very well. It's just a very entertaining ride to watch. So I say you should definitely check out the highlights every week when they come out. Jinx did a good job with these. I'm really proud of them. They're just good job. Another one I'm proud of is, I'm going to keep pushing this, is the Double Dragon one-shot. If you haven't seen it, you should. Jinx shows what potential she has in editing and how great she can make a video with her skills. Double Dragon has some amazing editing work out of Jinx. It is worth you checking out. It is very fun and entertaining, and it's even better with all the things Jinx did to it. And let's see here, what else? One more thing Smite related, and that is Hugo Stiggs. Might have seen him around. If you watched the SWC and you saw the cosplay music video with Todd dressed up as all those cosplayers, Hugo and his group were the ones that made that song with them. And it was pretty good, very entertaining. So Hugo has gone ahead and he's doing a Kickstarter for a second season of his parodies. Like, he did a season 1 of parodies for Smite, and they're pretty good. So he's doing a season 2, and he's asking for $3,500 to be able to get better equipment and everything to make that happen, to make a season 2 happen. Basically, he wants to make it more quality, you know, like a higher quality, something he can do, and he wants to be able to produce it very well, and that's why he's asking for money. And he's got about 21 days on, well, 20 days left on it when this comes out. And if anyone's interested in that, go ahead and check it out and see if you're interested. And if you're not, no sweat. That's alright. That's fine. Not everyone's into parody videos. But if you are into them, and if you like it, go ahead and check him out on that. Is that... Okay, let's see. Is everything Smite related? Is there anything else in general to talk about? I think that's everything. As far as... Well, I should talk about a critique of myself. And that is, as always, this week's games were very interesting. I think they were very entertaining. But the one that, of course, falls short is probably the Agni game. The Agni game is pretty entertaining the first half of that game. No way it's not entertaining. The second half, when everything melts down, that's where it takes a turn. And my emotions were not in check. They were for the most part, but it is really frustrating to lose a game like that. It really is. And that frustration bubbled to the top. Now, I get frustrated like that once in a while, especially when a game like that goes south so badly. And that's something to work on, is to be less frustrated, but it's a really hard thing to do. But I gotta work on that and do a lot better with that. It's not going to be possible to always be not frustrated, especially with a game that frustrating. But to develop and be a better entertainer, I need to work on trying to at least spin that into something entertaining, or at least turn that into just purely a lesson. Now, I did talk about it as a lesson, saying, this is what happens when you don't close the game, this is bad play right here, this is bad positioning. I said all that, but I said it with an angry tone. So it's working on explaining that, not so angrily, but like explaining it without the angry tone to it, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say there. And just doing it better that way. And yeah, just do better with that. So that's something I need to work on, is being as explaining as I always am, but better tone to it, I suppose, is the way I need to go about it. So I gotta work on that. Now that should be everything for Smite, so let's talk about Nintendo policy, and holy balls. Okay, so if you watch Total Biscuit or Jim Sterling, they explain it kinda well. They miss a couple things here and there, but there's some ambiguity about a couple things, but just summarize it right here. So, before this change, Nintendo just copyright claimed everything. Everything, if it had any Nintendo footage, even seconds of it, even if it was trailer footage, it would get claimed, and, well, you're screwed. And that was not good. So now they have this partnership program. And the way this works is, you can register a single video with the partnership program, and it still, I guess, gets claimed, but you get 60 or 70% of the revenue goes to you. If it's an individual video, you get 60% of the revenue, they get 40% of it. Now, if you partner with Nintendo, if you just partner with them to make your channel exclusively Nintendo, then you get 70% of it. So they get a 30% chunk instead of a 40% chunk for individual videos. It'd be 30%. Now, the kicker about all this is it takes 2 months to get the money, and then also, what's the other part of it? It's from a very short list of games that you can have on your channel. Smash isn't one of the games on this list. Like, some of the more popular games are not on this list, but other games are. And so if you're specifically a channel just for Nintendo with this partnership thing, you have to delete all videos that are not a part of that list, which means if you have videos on Smash, you can't have those on your channel. You can only have the ones on that list. This is a really weird and restrictive thing that Nintendo is doing. It's very odd. And if you just try not to be partnered with Nintendo and just do individual videos, it has to be only those specific games again like that. And even with all that submission and everything, there's a 72-hour period of Nintendo reviewing your video before they let you release it. So there's a lot of really weird red tape going on here. It's very odd. I don't understand how Nintendo is doing this, but they are. Now, the ambiguity is Nintendo being a partner, like, are they being a network then? Or are they being a separate thing? Which means, usually what happens for YouTubers is, you have a partner, which allows you to do things without worrying about copyright too much, because they'll handle it for you, kind of. So what happens is, like, we're with TGN. So what happens is, your money, whatever advertising money you make, 50% gets taken by YouTube. That goes away. Of that 50%, a network usually gets a 30 or 40% cut of that money. And so you're left with the last remaining 70 or 60%, and there you go. Now the question is, does Nintendo replace that network? If they do, then it's still the same process going on here, except restricted to a very small list of games. But if Nintendo counts as a separate thing, that means they get a chunk of that much money that you have left. And that's even more damaging, so YouTubers have even less money that they can use. And that is, holy crap, ridiculous. But that's one of the ambiguity points, is what does it count as? Does it replace networks? Or is it an extra thing? And that's the one part I'm not really clear on, and no one's really explained it very well. But the split Nintendo's doing is something that's pretty normal with being with a network, is it's usually 30 or 40% that they take away from you. That's nothing kind of new there for people who are already established in doing it, in having a network with them. But the thing that'll really kill you is that limitation of what games you can play. And that is that you can only play a small list of games, and it can only be those games. So Nintendo's basically said, we don't want advertising anymore from YouTubers, because that is very restrictive, and it's just going to choke people out. So we're going to see a lot of people just stop doing that. We'll still have hobbyists play whatever the hell they want, and it's all going to get auto-claimed by Nintendo, though. Which means it might have ads, but it won't be ads from the person themselves, and they might not make any money of it. It'll just be Nintendo making the money. And it's just, I don't know, this is very small peanuts for Nintendo when it comes to money-wise. Revenue money is not that much, even if you cumulatively go with all the Nintendo content makers. It ain't that much. It is not that big a thing. So it's very odd to see this, and it's just going to hurt Nintendo in the long run. This is a short game gain for Nintendo, but is a long game loss. You don't do the short game if you know you can win the long game, and unfortunately, Nintendo's playing the short game, which is very odd, because Nintendo has been around forever. You don't do the short game when you can do the long game. We have so many people, like, Nintendo's been around forever, so nostalgia factor, just their longevity, the new ideas they do, the faith people have in Nintendo, all this stuff is long game turns, long game things, because Nintendo's been around for so long, and it pays off. People have such loyalty to Nintendo that they spend a lot of money on Nintendo, but the short game thing right here is going to hurt Nintendo, especially with the younger generation who sees the competition Nintendo has. They see Xbox and PlayStation, and for them, maybe those are the better ones, and because of that, Nintendo is nothing to them, and so Nintendo is not going to be able to reach these people. Then the younger generation is watching YouTube and all this stuff, and they're being reached by that, by the advertising that YouTube's content makers make for Nintendo. Nintendo not having these people anymore means the younger generation might not see this. Maybe the older generation will still share Nintendo, like if they have Nintendo parents or older siblings or stuff like that who play Nintendo, they might see it. But YouTube has a strong pull, strong hold, and making less YouTube content creators that do Nintendo is going to hurt Nintendo a lot. And then there's the whole question of reviews. Like, what's going to happen with reviews? If they touch reviews, there's going to be a whole big can of worms going on there. And it's just not good. Nintendo's making a huge mistake here. We all know that. So I just don't know what's going on here, but it's what it is, and it's worrying. It's very worrying. And I just don't know. I really don't. I don't think I worded it all correctly or perfectly, but it's not good. Basically, what Nintendo's doing is not good. We all know it. There are people who are trying to defend it. There's always people trying to defend ridiculous things, because of course there are. And this is a ridiculous thing. This is not a good practice for Nintendo. It is a short game tactic that should not be made from a company that exists for so long. You never do the short game if you can do the long game. Simple as that. And it's just unfortunate. And that's just not good. It's not good at all for Nintendo. Which is worrying, because they just got over one hump. Now this is a new hump. Good job. Now let's talk about something else. Now, me and Jinx are a big fan of VideoGamer.com's video series, or like they're a YouTube group. They're doing pretty good. And now they're doing a Patreon. And there's a lot of opinions on Patreon. But what they're doing is basically, if you give them money on Patreon, they will give you bonus content. So they're going to make the usual stuff on YouTube. But if you give them enough money, you get extra stuff. Like they'll do extra podcasts or extra videos and stuff like that. You might even be able to appear on a podcast if you donate enough. Like they're doing all these things, they're saying, like, the normal stuff will still be there, but we're going to do extra for those who are willing to give us money so that we can keep doing what we're doing. And there's a lot of opinions about that. There's people angry that it's another company just being greedy, wanting money so that they can just get more money to do things that they're already doing. And then there's the opinion that, well, these guys are... Everything you want is still going to be there. It's just that with this extra money, they can make even more content. And it's going to be a reward for these people who gave them money for that. And then there's just a bunch of other opinions. I personally am not too cool with a paywall kind of thing. Like, all this bonus content, you have to pay money to get it. And not the biggest fan of holding content hostage. Not hostage, but holding content back with money. Although this is, of course, a traditional thing of, well, you can't own a game unless you buy it. You can't own a magazine unless you buy it. You can't have this food unless you buy it. Of course, that's a normal thing. But it is this weird ambiguity, not ambiguity, but this is weird area because of the fact that there's free content here, there's not free content over here. And it causes a lot of opinions and thoughts. And I'm not too sold on it. I'm not really too sold on bonus content for giving them money. We don't know why. Like, is it because they need more money, or is it that they just don't have the budget for videos anymore, or what's going on with that? We don't really know. But with Patreon, they have a cushion that allows them to do what they can do. That's really what Patreon can do. It can justify things. Is a better way to put it. But I'm not the biggest fan of what they're doing, but I definitely will still support them because I'm a big fan of VideoGamer.com. I like them a lot, so I will support them. Not now because I don't have any money, but in the future, when I have a job, I will give them some money because I'm a fan of them. I will give a lot of people money when I have a job because I want to support them. But it's it leads into thoughts about Patreon and what it is useful for and what you can do with and stuff like that. Like, sometimes you need Patreon helps justify some things or makes things possible. Let's go over, say, a webcomic artist I'm a big fan of, Dave Kellett. He does the Sheldon comic. He did a passion comic called Drive. It's a really, really, really good sci-fi comic he does. But he couldn't justify the time he spent on it because, well, he's got to make a living. So he's got to work on Sheldon and he's got to work on other projects. that he's doing, but Drive has to go on hiatus at times because he just can't afford to put the time into it because he's got to work on other things to survive. He's got a family, he's got a wife and a kid. He's got to make sure they will get going, right? So he couldn't do Drive all the time. So then Patreon exists, and he made a Patreon for Drive, and now he has the money to justify having the time to do it because he can do it now. So he's making Drive again, and people are loving that comic. That's a great comic. It's really good. I'm glad he's able to do it, and he's able to justify that he can do it. That's one way about it. Let's say something for YouTube content creators. Most content creators, you can't only do YouTube, obviously. Like, even some with high numbers, not like moderately high numbers, like, you don't make enough to make a living, obviously. Like, obviously our numbers aren't very big, but our money goes to the channel. All that goes to the channel, doesn't go to me. That's all I use on the channel, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the money you make on YouTube is not enough to survive on unless you're huge. And you have to be really, really, really huge and consistently huge to make the money to be able to survive on it. So usually a content creator has a second job. They maybe they're a waitress, waiter, maybe they're a bartender. There's someone who do that. Or maybe they're just something else. Maybe they're a civil engineer. Maybe they're this, maybe that. Like, I was a former neuroscientist. I'm going to be a water plant treatment plant operator in the future in about a year. That's what I'm going to be, that or a distribution operator. And I'm going to have a job out in the big world again. That'll be my second job while also making content. And so that job's going to take away my time from the channel a bit, and we'll see what it does to the channel. And what will it do to the quality? What will it do to the quantity? We will see in the future, but it will definitely affect the channel. That's just how it is. There's no way around it. But when a person is able to, through Patreon or other means, get enough money that they can do the channel for a living, the quality and quantity go up for damn sure. Maybe not always quantity, but maybe even huge on quality, depending on what they're doing. But it goes up. There's a stark difference between being able to do it as a part-time job, or as a hobby, and doing it full-time. The difference between a full-timer and a part-timer can be huge and very big. Like, if Jinx didn't have to go to school or do her freelancing work, if she didn't have to do all that and she was able to just do the channel itself, there would be a huge jump in quality. A huge jump. I know that for a fact. She knows that for a fact. We all know that for a fact. When you have the time to put in all the effort you can into something, instead of having to use up some of your time to do studies, some of your time to do this, to do that, there's a huge difference in content. You know that. For anything. Same thing goes for me. Like, I'm going to have a job, well, right now it's school, as the thing that's also happening besides making content. So, content is pretty good, but I know I could do a hell of a lot better. If I could use that time to practice, do better this and that, instead of using that time to study and all these other things. And then it's going to be work instead of school doing that. So, I'm working, I'm doing my job, I have to focus on my job, obviously. I can't think about making content. I can try to think about it maybe, but I actually know that job's too important to not want to think about other things on. I might get people killed. But I have time dedicated to work, and then I have time dedicated to the channel. And the channel is something that if you want to do well, you have to treat it as a job, and we do. So I'm doing 2 jobs at once. And because I'm doing 2 jobs at once, I can do well at them. But if content creating was my only job, you know damn well it would be huge difference in how that would go. That's just how it is. I hope I explained that well enough. There's a difference between being able to do it as a passion thing and being able to do it as a passion thing that you can do for life. Like, if I said that right at all. But there is a difference. And so, because there are people who see people trying to get money on Patreon or other means as just this insidious money grab thing. Like, oh, they're just greedy. They just want money because they want money for whatever, this or that. But it's like, money doesn't buy everything, but it buys you the ability to do better, in a way. Like, it frees up time. I think that's the biggest thing, is money gives time, especially if it's enough to make a living, so that all the time can be dedicated to the channel. That is one of the end goals, is to be able to full-time do the channel, so that we can make the channel the most amazing goddamn thing ever. Like, we're still doing that goal right now. We're trying to make the channel the best we can, but there are time restrictions because of other things in life. That's just how it is. But being able to dedicate our life to the channel would be an awesome thing. But that's way down the line. That's like 10 years. That's the long game. Right now, the money that goes from Patreon and from YouTube all goes to the channel. None of it goes to me or Jinx. It all goes to the channel. It goes to AAA titles. It goes to indie titles. It goes to giveaways. It goes to hardware when we need. Like, if the mic ever dies, we have money to buy a new mic if we need to, and stuff like that. And it's just software, hardware, everything. All the money goes to the channel. All of it. All of it goes to some way for the channel. New games to research and do videos on, all of it. It all goes there. Now, when I get a job, I can put in some of my own money into the channel a little bit and go and support other people. Like, say, like I want to, like, Spiff Sinister, eventually he's going to get a subscription button. So I'll buy a subscription from him. I'll subscribe to Mez. I'll, like, Mesmerize, if you don't know who that is. Just support content creators that I like. Like, that'll happen in the future. That's something I plan on doing. And that's when I get a job, I can be able to do that. But all the Patreon money we have and all the YouTube money goes specifically to the channel and to our viewers. That's where all that goes. And we can now afford to do a giveaway or two every month, besides donations for that as well. If you want to donate skins or gems to us for that, you can. That has happened in the past, and thank you to those who've done it. And there will be more giveaways and stuff in the future using the money we have gained. And so that's going to be all cool right there. I think I worded all that correctly. When I get all philosophical, it's hard to tell if I'm explaining it well or if I need to explain it better. That's just kind of how it is. But hopefully I explained it fairly well. Hopefully. Hopefully. I'm not sure. Not 100% sure on that. But let's just hope. Yeah. And I think that is everything there. And, oh god, I told Jinx this would be a 20-minute audio. Oh god, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die for this. That's everything this week. We'll see if Season 2 does come out next week or in a week or so. Like, it's a bit ambiguous when it's coming out. But it's supposed to be soon. But that's everything. We know we're definitely going to see me play Evolve soon enough. Check out the Jazzpunk LP. That's pretty good. Thank you to everyone, as always. It's important to always thank you guys and gals for watching and being entertained, because that's what it's all about. It's entertaining y'all or giving y'all something new to think about or learn. It's always the goal there. Only once in a while do we soapbox, and that's very rare. But for the most part, it is entertainment. Definitely for the most part, it's all about entertaining y'all. And that's important. That's very important. It's always good to help people smile and laugh and stuff like that. It's very important. At least I think it is. That is everything there. So that right there is the vlog. I have fun for watching. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Having fun. Thanks for coming by in. See you next time.